Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. I am in the virtual Cinequest. You may recognize the California theater behind me if you have been to San Jose to attend Cinequest in years past. I am really pleased to have with me today Michelle Danner, who is the director of a film called The Runner, which it's not a world premiere, but because
No, it
you said,
is. It's
oh,
a
it
world
is.
premiere.
It
Yeah.
is a world premiere of a thriller called The Runner, and set in a high school. So I'm gonna tell me first how you would describe The Runner.
I think it's an action thriller um, that I was passionate in telling. It's about a young kid that gets caught selling drugs and recruited by police enforcement to bring down the big drug kingpin of the town.
Oops, we've got an extra special guest.
We have a special guest here.
It's all right. So yeah, so he is recruited. Definitely, there's a motif of a metaphor of of running throughout. He's on the track team too, right? And it's definitely running, trying to run from a lot of problems. So you are the director. This is, I believe, the second time you've worked with this screenwriter. What drew you to the material, or did you two develop it together? What was the genesis of The Runner?
Yes, in fact, you're right. This is my second time. He was He's a wonderful writer, and I directed a movie that he wrote called Bad Impulse. But this one started really with me watching a news report and being absolutely moved and more like devastated because I really cried for an hour and wrote a treatment about some of these, high schoolers sometimes get used as sacrificial lambs. And I wrote a treatment and I gave it to Jason and I said, please, can you write the screenplay of this story? I really would like to tell it. And he did. We collaborated together and he wrote a beautiful screenplay. And that's how it all started. It really started from me watching something in the news, something in our country that I felt was really needed to, be discussed.
Yeah, it is a gripping thriller, and throughout that, so how so you've been developing the material from the beginning, and as I've noted, and you and I were talking a little bit ago, you are an acting coach as well. I guess, is it fair to say acting coach turned director? Um, how involved were you in casting then?
Yeah, so The Runner is my fifth feature film, and I have cast all of my movies myself because I have access to, just a wonderful pool, a community of actors that either I've worked with, they were in my classes. As it happens, the lead of The Runner, Edouard Philippona, was a student of mine. And one night, all the lights went out on Main Street, and all the kids in class did the scenes to little flashlights on their phones. And he did a scene that particularly moved me. And so I gave him the script of The Runner, and he loved it. And that's how it all started. And that's how I cast him in it.
Okay, and let's start with that. So you teach acting classes. I love this image of students in the streets in the dark with their phones. That wouldn't have happened 20 years ago, but um, you have been an acting coach for many years. Certainly worked with an eclectic group of actors, well known. Anybody look Michelle up on IMDb, and you'll see. What drove you that transition from acting coach to wanting to direct? I mean, it's the Hollywood cliche. What I really want to do is direct. So, when did you decide that?
A desire. And I also, I've acted, I'm an actress as well. And I think that at every single level, whether you're acting, you're teaching, you're directing, you're writing, there's always a desire to be a storyteller, to tell stories. And I think it was just a natural progression of wanting to sign the painting. And when you direct, you get to sign it. So that is what pushed me towards wanting to direct.
Yeah, and when you are directing, and I said to you beforehand too, I think this is a tremendously well acted film. The ensemble is so solid. Do you find a dividing line? Is it difficult to have a director hat? Do you have an acting coach hat? Because when you've been an acting coach on films you have not directed, right?
Right. Absolutely. There's a big difference between teaching acting and directing. You're much more result oriented, but I think that my actors on set when I direct certainly benefit from me having an automatic, acting coach hat on. Um, and I am able to work with actors and guide them and help them because I'm passionate about acting technique, about the craft of acting, and therefore I've gotten some lovely emails throughout the years, Paul Sorvino, one of them, talking about how I create a safe environment for actors to take risks, and I'm a true believer in that. I'm a believer in just really letting go and being loose and being raw, and and also it has to be fun. Everybody talks about how acting is fun. Well, how do you make it fun? I think that if you really get out of your head and you really risk it, um, then it can certainly be a great amount of fun.
Just
So,
as Cinequest has had to pivot to being virtual, and they did one in October, as last October as well. We've been hoping. We were just talking, and you mentioned that as an acting teacher, I think you have classes, you have a space of your own, and now how has it changed in the last year when you yourself have had to become a virtual teacher rather than in person with people?
well, I have been very rebellious about it at first and resentful, and I hated it. And so did my kids. I have two kids that have done Zoom, and everybody was like appalled by the fact that we had to do that. And then very soon after that, it grew on us. And actually, I mean, I think a lot of this Zoom, these interactions, these interviews, these classes, these auditions, I mean, they're here to stay to a certain degree. I mean, of course, it's always better in person and that connection live with the other person. But I have found a certain degree of intimacy with Zoom and as an alternative. I have loved it, and I think that it's given our chance, and also it's opened up a pool of actors from all over the world. So people come on Zoom from everywhere in the world, everywhere in the US, which is completely different than if you're teaching, a class live with just people that live in LA. So I now absolutely love it, and I can tell you that I will continue to somewhat teach on Zoom because it brings together a community of actors internationally, and people need that connection.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting too. I mean, you suddenly have, I will assume, the classes where you cast from for the runner and for previous films. That's been an LA based group, and now your pool for your next films perhaps has grown. Would that be a fair thing to say?
I would say so, yes. I mean, there's nothing that sometimes, just fascinates me when there's this incredible talented actor that comes in, he's in Istanbul, or another one that's in Saudi Arabia, or another one that's in Iran, or somebody that's in South America, Canada. I mean, there's just talent everywhere, South Africa. And, as a storyteller, I am just drawn to, people that have voices that want to express something about, our humanity. So it's been a particularly exciting time. During this pandemic, I've edited The Runner. So without that adrenaline, without it, you've got to do it. You have a deadline. I was like, well, we're relaxed. It'll take however long it takes. So it was
Yeah,
wonderful. And I'm prepping now for a movie that I'm going to shoot, a romantic comedy, and which I believe we need. We need something fun and light right now after this year. And
good.
so yeah, that's it's been a particularly creative time. I think, even if we're on lockdown, when you need to be creative, you find a way to be creative.
Yes, and I'm glad to see that you're switching up to romantic comedy. I was looking at your resume, and there were things that it seemed like there was a draw to suburban drama and violence. So, what inspired you for this romantic comedy then that's coming next? If you were watching, a news story that made you sad, And I think a previous film that may have had Paul Sorvino in it was about security systems and kind of again that sense of paranoia and suburban. I got to look these films, find these films now because I'm intrigued. But
Well, Bad Impulse was just released in December, so it's out everywhere. Yeah.
okay, great. And so, what about this? What inspired you to say, okay, now it's got to be a romantic comedy?
Well, it has a unique hook on astrology, and I have lived a lot of my life based on making decisions on astrology, laughing through it. As a matter of fact, there's a very funny story where I was giving birth to my child, and my sister was there with the astrology book, and she said, "Wait, wait! If you deliver now, he's going to have a Scorpio rising. Wait!" And our doctor, who's a very well-known gynecologist in town, Paul Crane, couldn't stop laughing. He said, of all the babies I've delivered, I've never seen anything like this. But I couldn't wait, so I pushed, and my baby had a Scorpio rising. So there you go. And I've made many decisions in my life, based on astrology. So that was one of the hooks. And I love romantic comedies. I love rom-com, although I happen to have directed a lot of, psychological thrillers. And I mean, not a lot, but I've directed, some.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie that I did was a romantic comedy. It was my equivalent going to film school. It was a movie that I did with Jason Alexander, with Ron Perlman, with Isai Morales, called How to Go Out on a Date in Queens.
I do need to see that one as well. Mm-hmm. I think Isai Morales is one of the most underrated actors we have. And I like Ron Perlman a lot too. So you've worked with some of my favorites. So The Runner will be screening March 20th to March 30th. Got a little banner across the bottom here. Tickets are on sale now. It's $3.99 a ticket, people. So please, you can support this film, and it will be running those 10 days, and then hopefully distribution. Right? That's the path. So
we do some other film festivals that we've already been invited to, and we're absolutely thrilled to be at Cinequest. We think it's just a great film festival, and we love the movies that they show. So we can be happy.
I hope that in August everyone can meet in San Jose, and you can see you there, and I'll try to go as well. So thank you, Michelle, for taking the time this evening, and best of luck with this film. Really, really looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This morning was a favor. Answering your cry for help. I got you on tape, Aiden Albers. You can either be tried as an adult, or we can wipe the slate clean.
What do you want?
Oh, just, everyone.
You don't look like you're sleeping well. You look worn out.
I've been making the money. You've been watching my back.
So how about you ask me a real fucking question then, huh?
I don't think you want me to ask you a real question.
What is it that you're dying to know?
Did you work for what's in that bag?
What's it like having so much? I look at you and I don't even think you know that I love you.
This shit is getting out of hand, bro.
I don't like it. I don't like the sound of this. You're scaring me.
You ain't got a spark. You got a motherfucking bonfire.
Now I'm gonna need to hear you say it, Aiden. Say it.
I don't...
Initiate. Go, go, go.
Fucking say it.
I'm not gonna fuck this up.
Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any Fanboy Planet videos. And remember, use your powers for good.